Do you like doing hard things? Well, you actually should. And here's the neuroscience behind why it transforms you, especially in the way of healing and human evolution. One of the most important parts of the brain in this protocol that we use, this embodiment protocol, I'll probably mess this up, but it's the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or the AMCC. I got it right this time. Most people have never heard about it, but it's one of the most important critical regions for transformation. The AMCC is part of the brain that's responsible for motivation, persistence, tolerating discomfort, and executive control under stress, all right? Also for choosing the harder but better option. And especially in the embodiment protocol, staying with yourself when your system wants to escape. You following me? So if you think about any real change in life, awakening, healing, embodiment, it's impossible without the capacity to sit with discomfort long enough for a new identity to form. That capacity is trained, not gifted. And the AMCC is where that training happens, and it's why it's so important. Sauna, cold, leaving your phone out of the bathroom, right? The AMCC lights up when you face intentional, safe discomfort. Things like, again, heat, cold, exercise, breath work, silence, cravings, or emotional activation. Every time you stay present instead of escaping, you're strengthening the circuit that says, I can choose my response even when my body wants to run, right? This is the core of both neuroscience and non-duality. In neuroscience, you build resilience, discipline, and emotional regulation. As it relates to non-duality, you're learning to rest as the observer instead of collapsing into the conditioned self, the program, the identity. And because the AMCC is plastic, which means essentially highly trainable, even small repeated exposures rewire it quickly. And this is why the protocol uses daily micro practices of intentional discomfort. They create the neurological scaffolding, that's a good word, neurological scaffolding for awakening to become a lived reality instead of this mystical peak that fades. And the protocol isn't about having a big experience, right? Many psychedelic practitioners focus on these big experiences. It's about changing who you are across time. And to do that, you need to do a couple things. One we call state training, and that's expanding awareness, opening the field, and disrupting habitual patterns. And then capacity training, which is developing the ability to stay awake even when discomfort arises. Most people could expand for a moment, but what they can't do is remain conscious when life presses back, when things get a little tricky. So the AMCC is the bridge between awakening and embodiment. That's why it's crucial, because it's what allows the new signal that you're broadcasting to hold. Old emotional patterns to fall apart without you collapsing. New choices become automatic, and gratitude and presence to persist even in challenges. And without training this region, awakening collapses back into the old identity structures the moment life gets difficult. But with it, the transformation stabilizes. Hope you're following this, right? So you can have the biggest 5-MeO DMT experience or ketamine experience or psilocybin experience in the world. But at the moment discomfort comes, you collapse into your old identity, then nothing is going to change. And so awakening is not what happens on the mat. Awakening is who you choose to be in the heat of your life, right? It's a consistency. And this part of your brain is literally what gives you that ability. So by training the AMCC through the sauna, cold exposure, breath work, meditation, during cravings, emotional discomfort, you're building this neurological foundation for free will. So now I can choose my response versus react, resilience, presence under pressure, and the ability to choose consciousness over conditioning. I could see my old pattern, but I'm going to respond differently. And that's why it's in the protocol. It's not optional. It's the backbone of everything. Hope that helps.